The idea of Mrs. Thatcher visiting a Russian family in their own home was a last-minute arrangement. So last minute, the chosen family were only told the day before. Mrs. Thatcher smiled through the developing chaos that gradually surrounded her, as Soviet security men employed some brusque tactics to clear a path through photographers. But Mrs. Thatcher emerged scarcely ruffled, still clutching her pink carnations.
I have never seen anything quite like it. There's so many people who live here.
It wasn't a typical Moscow flat. It's in a cooperative block where residents pay about £80 a month rent to beat state housing queues. Her host, a foreign service worker, was suitably impressed with the British Prime Minister dropping in for a chat.
She was fine, I would say. Yeah, very pleasant to deal with too.
But no Thatcher walkabout would be complete without a supermarket visit. Here she polished the skills of a seasoned campaigner. But there was more violence aimed at cameramen within feet of the Prime Minister. Mrs. Thatcher, by now at a sports complex, pressed on, with the pace and panache reminiscent of a general election campaign.
Soviet soldiers marched in the dawn light here as others carried a giant wreath for Mrs. Thatcher to lay at the tomb of the unknown warrior. The Prime Minister was paying tribute to the millions of Russians who died in the Second World War in common cause with the British. The tomb is a place of enormous significance to the Soviet people. After 36 hours of election campaign-style appearances here, the Prime Minister was now commencing the first day of serious business in Moscow. With the Union Jack fluttering from her ZIL limousine, she moved into the Kremlin for her first session of talks with the Soviet leader, her motorcade disappearing into what she has until now regarded as the heartland of the enemy camp. Yet here, through gold-encrusted doors, was Mikhail Gorbachev striding to greet her to discuss arms control. Each has been rude about the other's ideology in the past few days, but Mrs. Thatcher does not disguise that she, at least, is somewhat invigorated by his company. It had been planned that this first round of talks beneath the Green Dome above Mr. Gorbachev's office should last at least 2 hours. It was actually nearer 4 before Mrs. Thatcher returned to base at the British Embassy.
Prime Minister, why did the talks continue so long?
Because they were too interesting to break off. So we went on and she'll be returning at 4 o'clock.